Hello, BookTube. I want to take a moment here to signal boost a new BookTube event. Bad Taste Books and Infinite Text have put their brains together and come up with Dinovember. An event in November dedicated to dinosaurs. And there are a bunch of prompts. If you want prompts, there are a bunch of prompts where you can read a work of nonfiction, you can read a classic text on dinosaurs, you can read some sort of a science fiction-y type thing. I'll leave a link to their announcement videos down below because it's of course a ton of fun for me even to think about. It's one of my favorite subjects and always has been. And I thought in honor of Dinovember I would give you a dinosaur starter kit. I don't think I've ever done one before. And I should clarify before I start that, of course, dinosaurs were real. I have to clarify that because I live in the United States of America, which is an intensely insane, science-denying, religious fundamentalist country. The most fundamentalist religious country in the world, or in the history of the world. And there's a large segment of this population, probably 200 million people out of 300-something million people, who don't believe that dinosaurs were real. They were real. And we every day learn more about them from the enormous remains that we find. The remains that we aren't using for fuel, that is. And also from their living relatives, birds. So I thought, with that preface out of the way, that we would go over the subject of dinosaurs for a starter kit. And we can start with overviews of just the whole world of dinosaurs. When they were first discovered, when they were named and who named them, how we have gradually developed all kinds of clades for their different families, their different habitats, what their world was like. I want to show you a couple of those that are well worth your time. One, of course, we'll start off with the first one. Is from Dorian Kindersley. It's from DK, the publisher DK, who makes these oversized, beautiful picture books. Plastic pages, really strong binding. They're clearly meant to be used by generations of children, but they are so well written. The text in them is so good that adults can enjoy them too. And they did one called Dinosaur that is well worth the time to find, well worth the money to buy new. A couple of things on this list that I almost never urge you to buy anything new, but this is something you will keep forever. You will keep and use it forever. Now, that forever is a little tricky because dinosaur books are a little tricky because our knowledge of them changes the more we learn. So species guides, for instance, or things like that are a little bit tricky to recommend because they're superseded almost before their ink is dry. I'm trying to keep that in mind here. For instance, this next one has it's a bigger book. It's a collection of editors. This is the Dinosauria, which is an overview, a species by species overview of all of Dinosauria, with a large introduction about their natural history and their evolution and whatnot. But also then it breaks it down into all kinds of families and whatnot. My copy of this does not look like this. I have the first edition. This is the second edition. But this is a dinosaur book that will, to a large extent, stand the test of time. Much like the Dorian Kindersley thing, it will stand the test of time. A lot more than very species-specific ones, although we're going to get into family-specific ones. Then we have one more overview here. This is one of, I think, 2 books on this list where I am blurbed on the paperback. This is Steve Broussat's book, The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, which gives you the whole of the story. This doesn't go quite so far into the specifics of families and species. It's more concerned with the general picture. But that general picture is interesting, and the DK book can be expensive. So if you want, this is probably out in paperback by now, and if you wanted one book that told you, roughly speaking, the whole story from start to finish, this would be that. Thanks to paleontological research, we know the beginning of Dinosauria, and everybody in the world knows the ending of Dinosauria. So you can put it all in one book. This isn't even that long a book. And it is well written. It's slangily written, but well written. Then another book, if we want to tighten the focus a little more away from overviews, this is a classic. It is a dinosaur classic that you need to read. This is Robert Backer's book, The Dinosaur Heresies. A classic work in which he popularizes the idea that dinosaurs were, in fact, warm-blooded. For a long time, when they were first being diagnosed and then described, people assumed that they were lizards, that they were cold-blooded. they couldn't live in cold climates, and they needed warmth in order to move. They weren't endothermic at all. And Bakker and a whole bunch of people whose research he summarizes in this book worked to figure out whether or not that was actually true, and realized that it probably wasn't. They may have been warm-blooded in a way that we don't fully understand, but they weren't cold-blooded. And this is also funny. It's anecdote-driven, it's funny, it's really colorful. It is the one book on this list, one of the two books on this list that I would recommend to just about anybody on the subject. Then we can get into a couple of specific groups of dinosaurs. There are so many that are famous. There's so many. Everybody has their own favorites. I just named two. The first one, it's an enormous book. I think it's another collection of scholars in an anthology. I think it might be the biggest book on this list. My copy is so big that I barely ever move it. But maybe it's come out in paperback by then. And if it's come out in paperback, I might be blurbed on the paperback. This is called New Perspectives on Horned Dinosaurs. There were a whole bunch, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kinds of horned dinosaurs. Some had these big frills that they used for mating displays or temperature regulation. Some did not. The most famous of these probably is Triceratops, but there are all kinds of others. The Ceratopsians are, of course, a big part of this book. But it's just, some of the parts of this book are a little on the dry side, but others are not. And all of it is evocative. And a lot of it is so thorough that it would be hard for a lot of this research to be thoroughly overturned. I bet not more than 10% of it has been, not even overturned, but substantially augmented. I think it would be hard to happen here. So it really is kind of the definitive book on horned dinosaurs. And the other group that I want to mention here, the other group of dinosaurs, is by far the most famous, and that is the Tyrannosaurids, and specifically the king of all dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus Rex. So I want to mention Mark Whitten's book from this year, which was so good, King Tyrant, which is a natural history of Tyrannosaurus Rex. It gets in a lot of ground and a lot of detail for other Tyrannosaurids, not only earlier ones, but also ones that were contemporary with Tyrannosaurus Rex. But it deals a lot with Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it is so good along those lines. We know so much about these long gone animals that we can assess something like their natural history, which would include not only their ecology but also their ethology, their behavior. We actually know enough so that we can start to piece that together. And the next book, I had to do two books about Tyrannosaurus Rexes, and the next one is by an author who is a large part of the reason why we know so much about them, David Hone, who I've praised on this channel many times. This is a book, The Tyrannosaur Chronicles, which is his book about tyrannosaurids and also about Tyrannosaurus Rex. No one thinks better about these animals than this guy does. No one pieces together possible realities of their day-to-day life from the remains that we have better than he does. It's amazing. He will say it's all just sound science. No doubt some of you have seen him say that on Joe Rogan. He will say it's just sound science, but there's intuition involved as well, and his intuition feels so good on this subject that if I remember, I always forget to do this, but he has a great lecture on YouTube about Tyrannosaurus Rexes, and I remember I'll try to link to it because it is so good. But if I don't remember, just look up his name, and it'll be one of the first things that comes up. It has millions of views. And then we can go to a book by Riley Black. This is a subject just about that famous end of the dinosaurs. A meteor struck the Earth. A very sizable meteor struck the Earth and changed the climate. And that was deadly to most dinosaurs. Most life forms. It was deadly to most life forms. Mammals could hide underground, and some of them probably had stored food underground. Crocodilians and turtles have those incredibly long metabolism. A crocodile can go a year without eating. A massive catastrophic change of climate is just about when that would come in handy. But gigantic apex predators need a constant supply of meat or vegetables by the ton? No. And this book is The Last Days of the Dinosaurs, which is all about what we know about that event. And it's fascinating. And there is a great video on this subject as well by Kirkasad. Again, I will try to remember to link it down below if you haven't seen it. Again, like the David Hone video, only much more so, it has millions and millions of views about what life was like in the last day of the dinosaurs. But it's a fascinating subject, and a book is going to go into much more detail on it than any video could. And that After that event, the dinosaurs were gone, except for the avian dinosaurs, the birds, which managed to live. They were much more mobile, they much more fecund. They managed to live and survive and evolve so that we have remnants of the dinosauria still here among us. But dinosaurs weren't gone completely. The minute they started to be unearthed, they became instantly a magnet for the imagination, for the human imagination. They became the subject of fiction. And I wanted to include a couple of fiction recommendations before we wrap things up. And one of them is by Victor Milan. This is The Dinosaur Lords, an imagined world, this quasi-medieval fantasy world in which people ride various kinds of dinosaurs into battle. And there are many volumes in this series. You can start with this one. The Dinosaur Lords is the first one. I firmly believe you will be caught up in the spell of it, especially if you were a dinosaur kid. This will be a dream come true to you. And it's actually fairly well done, too. So, as fantasy, it's fairly well done. It's not just the dinosaurs that are selling it. Then this next one is the other Universal book on the list here. I have praised this before. I have praised it. I cannot praise it highly enough. It is by Mo O'Hara, and it is illustrated by Andrew Joyner, and it is Romeosaurus and Juliet Rex. And it is the story of star-crossed lovers. It starts out like a Romeo and Juliet, but it ended up a tragedy. This is a kid's book about two dinosaurs falling in love. And it is every bit as silly and preposterous as the title, and it is wonderful. It is one of those children's books where you will read it endlessly to your kids, but once they're gone, once they've graduated and gone to college, you'll read it to yourself, probably with a tear in your eye, but you will. It's just that wonderful. And then we can do another thing that is technically a kid's book, although I know a lot of adults who love it and maybe grew up with it. This is James Gurney. This is his book Dinotopia. And this is the original. There were many sequels and spin-offs of what kind or another. This is a big picture book that imagines in gorgeous artwork a lost world where dinosaurs didn't die, but instead incorporated into human life, much like the Dinosaur Lords, only far friendlier. And the artwork is incredible. What I wouldn't give to find a hardcover copy of Dinotopia in the wild, but I never do, because it's so beloved that people just hold on to it. If you can find a copy, it is wonderful. A wonderful, whimsical meditation on what it would be like if humans lived with dinosaurs. Then we have, when we're talking about fiction and dinosaurs, one thing came to your mind right away, and it cannot not be on this list. It's Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, in which a modern group of scientists find a way to bring dinosaurs back alive in the modern day. Needs no introduction from me, because of the massive blockbuster movie. And obviously there are legs in that franchise because the latest movie, this year, topped $1 billion in about a day. So it's a perfect example of how dinosaurs have not lost their power to enthrall. There's nothing speaks clearer about that than money. This book, Michael Crichton doesn't have much in the way of writing ability, but boy, oh boy, does he have a lot of ability in the page-turning department. And this book does that, absolutely. But I wanted to finish up with, it's not fiction, it's fact. It's not quite a kid's book, because you'd be crazy to give something this delicate to a kid. But it is an amazing work of art. It is one of the things on this list that I urge you to buy new. Not only because you never see it used, but because if you do see it used, it's going to be in tatters. And the new product, the brand new thing that you'll take out of the cellophane wrapping, is a wonder. And that is Robert Sabuda and Matthew Reinhardt. This is part of the Encyclopedia Prehistorica. This is a pop-up book called Dinosaurs. It's a big, ornate, green and brown pop-up book that is incredible. If you are familiar with pop-up books, you might think that you can estimate how much artistry is involved in this, and you would be wrong. You would be wrong. It blew 20 years ago when I saw it. It blew me away. I didn't get it because I had dogs, and I knew that it would be useless. I might as well just feed them the money rather than get such a delicate book and have them just destroy it. And I couldn't keep it from them. I can't keep things from my dogs, so I still don't have a copy of this. But I am often tempted. I have a dog right now who isn't even tempted to attack things. So I'm tempted to have it. I can't do anything more than show you the cover here, but oh my, there must be, somewhere on YouTube, there must be a video of someone opening this and walking you through it. You'll be amazed, and you'll want a copy of your own. And the best thing about it being on this starter kit is that it's also very, very informative. It's not just pictures that pop up off the page. It's very informational. So there you go. There's a dinosaur starter kit and a strong urging for you to join Dinovember in its inaugural year. And I'll leave a link to announcement videos down below so you know the lay of the land for the event. Maybe read a dinosaur book in November. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.